Well, holy fucking shit. So this is just, everything is just going wrong. Nothing about this is good. The next morning, Toji's already gone by the time I wake up. Ugh. I stretch and wriggle out of the futon. Now that I'm all alone once again, I think back on what took place yesterday. Yeah, you acted like an idiot. But why? I can still vividly recall Kazuna's pained expression when I turned her down. I wonder if this was really the right choice. Spoiler alert, no. I'd shake my head frantically to clear away the pangs of regret. No, I made the right choice. I have no time for doubts now. I've got to keep moving forward for Toji's sake as well, since she tried so hard to cheer me up. Yeah, she cheered you up, alright. I look around to find some rice balls and miso soup on the table. Toji probably prepared it all while I was still slumbering away. Some urgent business came up. I'll be back later. Short, simple, and to the point. Just like Toji. It's been left next to the rice balls. I suppose this is for the best. After what happened last night, I honestly have no idea how I should act around Toji. The feeling of awkwardness is multiplied twofold since we've been friends for so long. Damn, I'm such a disgrace. I pick up one of Toji's rice balls. It's a bit oddly shaped, but it tastes just fine. Something seems off about the city today. I've been seeing men wearing Senri's hooded overcoat in greater numbers around town. They whisper to each other and then scatter off in different directions. It looks like they're panicking about something. I wonder what's going on. I hurry onwards, gripped by an unknown feeling of anxiety. It looks like today's strangeness has even found its way to Senri headquarters. Entry forbidden. A cultist stops me at the entrance. But I came here to see if I could get the leader to recognize me as one of the faithful. I'd like to enter immediately and start my religious training. Enough! Off with you! The man rudely interrupts me. None of the people from our main office are in today. There's nobody here to deal with lady like you. They're out? Has something happened within the church? It's nothing for a person like yourself to be concerned over. Get out of here. Come back another day for your religious training. Thus, I'm promptly booted out of Senri headquarters. The snow gets heavier in the afternoon. The shadowy forms of Senri followers move around stealthily with the great backdrop of falling snow. I hear them whispering to each other as I push through the crowd in front of the station. Have we found her yet? No, not yet. Who are they looking for? I've heard tales of many people who fled because the indoctrination for Senri was too harsh. It might very well be the reason their members are in a panic at the moment. Now what? It's probably best if I wait for this trouble to die down before continuing my investigation into Senri. Using this opportunity to infiltrate Senri headquarters crosses my mind, but I want to refrain from doing anything reckless while it's still light out. Guess I've got no choice but to head back for now. I sigh and turn back. Ugh. If I remember correctly from the normal ending, the situation with Senri kind of solves itself in a sort of weird way. I could be wrong about that, but that's at least what I remember. In the true ending, obviously, you have pretty direct influence over what happens. To get back to my new place in Oimachi, I take some back streets that I normally don't pass through. I just happen to walk into this alley by sheer coincidence. The entire alleyway is filled with the sour stench of rotting garbage. There's a slight dusting of snow coming down between the buildings. After walking a short while, I get closer to my destination. All I need to do now is figure out which way to go. You can save a lot of time by doing this. It's better than taking the main roads. My sense of direction is pretty damn good if I do say so myself. Running around everywhere during my time as a cop honed it quite well. However, I'm practically home, but as I turn the corner, I catch sight of something. It makes me gasp. You're... Sitting there in the alley is one of the leaders of Senri, Shigusa Tokiko. She lifts her face up. Her movements are sluggish. She croaks out through pale lips. Takeshiro Shugo. Tokiko's eyes lack focus, and the skin of her face is so pallid it's practically transparent. Is this who the Senri cultists are searching for? But at any rate... Hey, you! She doesn't look so good. Is something wrong with her? And the moment I step closer to ask her a question... Whoa! She crumples listlessly onto the snow. Hey, what's wrong? I rush over and prop up Tokiko's slender body. That's when I feel a strange sensation. Huh? My right hand, which I'm using to support her, feels wet. This is blood. My hand is practically soaked with her blood. Well, shit. Yeah, I thought she was actually going to die in the normal ending. I remember this happens in the true ending as well, so... Once we get there, we're pretty much going to be doing this again. Okay, this should do it. I nod, satisfied with my work as I finish winding the bandages tightly around her bare back. Tokiko grimaces slightly before pulling her clothes back into place. She leans back against the wall and breathes a deep sigh, the colors gradually returning to her face. She's probably relieved to be in such a warm room. So, how long do you plan on keeping silent? Not only am I going out of my way to hide you in here, but I treated your wounds as well. Don't you think it's fair to at least tell me why they're chasing you? Tokiko is unresponsive. She just keeps staring down at her feet. Ah, come on. Then she suddenly says, I'm grateful that you helped me. However, I'd appreciate it if you didn't cry anymore. I can't do anything to thank you at the moment, but you can use my body in whatever way you desire, if that is your wish. I can thank you with my body, at least. What? I'm rendered speechless. All I can do is stare dumbly at her face. How does that sound? Her deep, fathomless eyes stare at me, awaiting my reply. I'll pass. It's certainly an attractive proposal, but I'm not exactly keen on forcing an injured person to do something like that. I see. She nods, apparently not troubled in the slightest. Tokiko then turns her eyes away from me and falls silent, as though she's completely lost interest. She leans back against the wall and closes her eyes in meditation. Sheesh. Why do things like this happen to me? Because you're the main character? After she had collapsed in the alley. Not only is her shoulder injured, but she's pretty emaciated as well. I was shocked by how light she was after supporting her upright. She was practically an empty shell. Tokiko's face was pale. There were large droplets of sweat running down her brow. Her eyes were shut and she was taking short, shallow breaths. I couldn't just leave her there. We'd better get you to a doctor for now. As I was about to get her to her feet, she said, Wait. Huh? She opened her eyes halfway and tugged on my sleeve. I can't be seen by people. What? I stared down into her pallid face. Are you being chased by Senri? An image of the Senri cultists I spotted this afternoon appeared in my head. She remained silent. You can't be serious. Even though we were in the alley with no other people, the main roads were just a stone's throw away. There was a good chance she'd be spotted by the Senri members if she lingered there any longer. My mind raced as I stared into her face, which was contorted with pain. It's not like I had any obligation to listen to her request, but it could be a good chance for me to learn more about the inner workings of Senri. If I played my cards right, I might be able to get some information about Yura and her time in Senri. Oh well, I might as well have her be in my debt. Guess I've got no choice. I threw my arm around her shoulders and got her to her feet. Let's head back to my place for now. If we keep going through these back streets, nobody should see us. However, my plan has been thwarted. Shigusa Tokiko has flatly refused to answer any of my questions. Well, it's not like I want to force an injured person to do anything, so there's nothing I can really do. I look up at the lump lying there in the corner of my dimly lit room. Tokiko is sound asleep, wrapped up in the futon I'd laid out for her. It looks like her condition stabilized somewhat. Fortunately, they didn't hit any of her vitals, though she's lost a lot of blood. The wound wasn't as deep as I'd expected it to be. Well, me treating her was all possible thanks to the basic first aid training that was pounded into our brains during my time with the police. But there's something that's been eating away at me. I noticed a purple bruise on the inside of Tokiko's left elbow while I was treating her. Or rather, a congestion of blood. And add to that her strangely emaciated, thin body. Could she possibly have been doing... Nah. I push aside the doubts welling up inside my chest. She's sleeping quietly. Her current condition is stable. Let's hope that things stay that way. Well, she could have had, I'm guessing that Shugo's thinking she was doing drugs. Maybe, that was forced upon her somehow. I mean, she could have been forcibly injected with needles or something like that. I closed my eyes and spaced out, deep in thought. Holy shit. Fortunately, the night passes by uneventfully. I just kind of want to go ahead and get to the normal end already because a lot of this is like, I don't know, this is definitely not my favorite part of the game, especially because of the way Shugo just kind of turns away Kazuna, and the way this ends is really, I'll just be really straightforward with you guys. The way that this the normal ending plays out is really anticlimactic, especially as opposed to the true ending of the game. So it's kind of like, well, that whole thing seemed really pointless because, like I said earlier, the situation seems to pretty much eventually just solve itself. Shigusa Tokiko is still slumbering away peacefully under a futon. She does look really worn out, but I don't see any trace of pain in her features. I sit up inside my futon and breathe a sigh of relief. It appears that the fears I had were unfounded. And shortly before noon... What are you doing here with other women, Shugo? Toji comes face to face with Shigusa Tokiko when she arrives at my place to report the results of her investigation into Senri. Tokiko gets out of her futon and stares at Toji, her face a blank slate. She looks a whole lot better after getting a good night's sleep. Toji and Tokiko stare each other down for a while. Then, Toji turns to me and says, "Hey, Shugo, why is she here of all places? What the hell have you been up to while I've been away?" Toji seems offended for some reason. "Just saving someone's life." "What?" Toji furrows her brow in suspicion. "I found her half dead in the snow yesterday. If you take a good look, you'll see that she's not only hurt, but emaciated as well. My conscience would never let me just leave her there to die." "So you brought her into your room? It's for her protection. You make it sound like I had some kind of ulterior motive or something." "Oh, so you didn't? Can you swear to me that you seriously didn't? What's with you? Why are you so pissed? I've every right to be. I didn't get you this room so you could do stuff like this." I feel like she's blaming me for something I don't deserve, but getting angry with Toji over this will make things unnecessarily complicated. I think someone's a little jealous because they assume we were doing something with Tokiko that we obviously were not doing. I'll try explaining things to her seriously. Like I said, all I did was treat her wounds and let her rest here. Isn't that right? I looked to Shigusa Tokiko for agreement. Who knows? I was unconscious the entire night, so... Really? Oh, come on, at least deny that I did anything. Shugo. I can feel Toji's skepticism growing more intense. Come on, think about it carefully. I'm not so immature that I'd do something to an injured person. Oh, she's injured. Right. Oh, now your tone changes. Toji nods as though she finally begins to understand. Oh, right. In fact, this is heavily related to the matter I asked you to look into. Want to fill me in on the details, then? Sure. I proceed to tell Toji about everything that happened yesterday evening. I start off with the unrest among the Senri followers. Then my story shifts to how I found Shigusa Tokiko wounded and collapsed in an alley in the slums, and how she was extremely frightened of other people catching sight of her. Tokiko has been staring out the window the entire time, wholly indifferent to our conversation. I see. I did hear that the cultists were searching for something. Well, turns out that something is her. It all makes sense now. Toji falls silent after that. She stares at Tokiko's face, deep in thought. Tokiko just keeps staring out the window, completely ignoring us. Shugo. Toji suddenly says my name quietly. Were you able to get anything out of her? Nope, she won't talk to me about anything important. So you're just waiting around for her to speak up? I guess so. If you don't want to do it, then how about letting me interrogate her? Her eyes narrow questioningly. Toji's basically implying that she'll torture Tokiko, or do whatever it takes to get the information out of her. I shake my head. No, let's not do that. I've never liked forcing things out of people. I suddenly recall the coercive measures Yaginuma employed against me in that cell. I quit the police force because I didn't want to turn into a cruel monster like him. I don't want to crush people's minds like that, even if it might be necessary. You're too soft. Toji breathes an exasperated sigh. Tokiko, on the other hand, just keeps staring out the window as though she hasn't heard a single word. Since Tokiko is giving us the silent treatment, there's no reason to talk about Senri in front of her. Toji proposes that we make our way over to Milk Hall instead. She has one of her underlings stand guard while Tokiko remains in the room by herself. Since Tokiko's just passed out from exhaustion again, there shouldn't be any pressing worries for the present. But things will get awkward if Kazuna decides to drop by while we're away. Well, I think things will be fine. Toji looks rather concerned, so I flash her a smile. Kazuna's pretty busy with her acting and all. Besides, I was pretty harsh with her the other day. Toji sighs, her features forming a complicated expression. Shugo, don't push yourself too hard, okay? What are you talking about? I'm not. At any rate, let's get down to business. You got some new information, right? Yeah. Toji opens the briefcase she has with her and pulls out a thick envelope. It's Senri's member list. We got it from a former Senri staff member who withdrew from the organization. Wow. I accept the envelope from her and rifle through its contents. Even so, those records are over 6 months old. I'm not sure how useful they'll be. At any rate, I don't see the name Hyo or the girl you're looking for, Kozuki Yura, in those documents. I see. I realize that I sound pretty disappointed. Does that mean all this stuff is useless? However, it doesn't mean that we didn't learn anything at all. Toji pulls out a single sheet of paper from within the stack and presents it to me. Does this name look familiar? I stare at Toji's face in shock. Fukamizu Kaoru? That's right. The criminal behind those bizarre serial murders, Fukamizu Kaoru, was actually a member of the Senri faith. Is anybody surprised by that? But Toji cuts me off as I'm about to say never heard any mention of that. Fukamizu was crafty enough to hide it from everyone. Her occupation wasn't one where she would be able to freely change faiths. As a general rule, Kaio Academy teachers have to be devout Catholics. Not only that, but she was a sister of the faith as well. That's how she conducted herself on the outside, despite what she actually believed. But to think it was actually a member of Senri, that means there's something else lurking behind the supposedly solved case. I think back to the conversation I had with Nana right after the case was closed. It sounds a bit contrived to me. I feel like it's too cut and dry for a lunatic to have come up with it. Then, as I try to rouse my scattered thoughts from the quagmire they're stuck in. Wait, hold on just 1 second. I spot another name I recognize in the documents. Shugo. Why the hell is this name here? Uh-oh. What did we find? It's Nana. I knew she was a member all along. It would make sense since she's so fucking crazy. The sun's gone down and the streets are illuminated with the dazzling array of colors from various neon signs. Bye. Good effort today, you guys. Kazuna parts ways with her friends from the theater group after throwing a hearty wave in their direction. People scurry along busily downtown, lit by the faint glow emanating from the electric lamps. She pulls out her pocket watch. Oh my. Look at the time. She'd gone to milk hall with her friends after rehearsal. They had only planned to stay for a short while, but then they had gotten engrossed in conversation. Since her mother is taking a rare break from work, she's probably waiting for Kazuna with food ready back in Kanda. I'd better hurry home. She's absorbed in her thoughts while she's walking along a deserted road. Kazuna doesn't do this during rehearsal, as she focuses hard on the task at hand. However, when she's alone, there's no helping it. Her mind's brimming with jumbled, confused thoughts. The search for her missing sister stemmed out of her own feelings of guilt. Add to the fact that her father had been deceiving her the entire time, though she hadn't lived with him for a long while. And above all else, there's the matter with the man she met, who's dealing with this case. Shugo-san. Kazuna finds herself sighing as she looks up at the cloudy winter sky. She thought him rather unsociable and frankly a bit scary the first time they met. He'd seemed the sullen, silent type. When spoken to, he'd only respond with short quips. Kazuna had even entertained the possibility that he hated her. However, she soon realized that she was completely off the mark. His blunt attitude and sarcastic remarks were just ways to hide his embarrassment, since he was an awkward guy. He just happened to have his own special way of worrying about her. Kazuna had probably become smitten with him the moment she noticed that. She told him how she felt when they made the trip to Zushi together. She thought that they had a really special connection. But she was wrong. We have to have depressing endings. We can't have any of these characters be happy. However, now things have become... The chilly winter breeze blowing across the water makes Kazuna shiver. Inevitably, one's thoughts will start to take a turn for the depressing if they're pondering things over in such cold weather. I can't be doing this. She shakes her head to chase away the depressing thoughts. But no matter how hard you try, you can't shake away this depressing ending to this depressing game. He told me to wait until the case was solved. On the other hand, Shugo might be doing this out of consideration for her, and that's why he was so torn up about it. The very thought cheers her up. Kazuna's strong point is always looking on the bright side of things. Tomorrow, she'll head over to see him and help with the search. His feelings for her might change if they can find Yura quickly. This is no time for her to be moping about. Okay. Kazuna nods confidently to herself and feels as though things are looking up a bit. But the moment she feels flushed with relief, Kazuna notices something. Huh? She hears the soft crunch of footsteps trampling snow from behind her. She slowed down her pace considerably while she was immersed in her reverie. Nonetheless, she can definitely hear the footsteps plodding along behind her at regular intervals. Who could it be? A chill runs down her spine. How could she not have noticed until now? Terror causes her to lurch to a halt. At that very same instant, the sound of footsteps behind her ceases. Kazna holds her breath and waits for them to start again. There's no doubt about it. Somebody's following her. But why would they do this? It's not just the cold that causes her entire body to start trembling. Kazna's pulse races. Her terror grows as she stands beneath a flickering streetlight. She can't take this anymore. She's off and running before she even realizes what she's doing. And from behind comes the inexorable sound of footsteps chasing her. Why? Kazna's mind races helplessly as she gasps for air. She glances around for help, but there's nobody nearby since it's so late at night. She tries screaming, but all she can choke out is a dry wheeze. Kazna is so terrified she can't even force herself to turn around. I need to at least get myself to somewhere with people. As she runs along the shore of Shinobazu Pond, she can see the lights of downtown up ahead, which fills her with a small sense of relief. What? She's tripped up by a pile of snow on the pathway. Ow! Her mind goes blank for a split second as her rear end comes crashing down onto the frozen ground. As she rubs her aching back and prepares to get up and run once again, Kazna looks up to find... the person who was chasing her standing right before her very eyes. Oof. Oh man, that's not good. No, oh shit. Oh no. No, this is even worse than I thought. I was about to say, I'm not sure what's gonna happen with Kazna now. The girl makes a relieved expression after seeing Blank's face. Paying no heed, Blank pulls back its fist and drives it into her gut hard. She crumples in half and collapses onto the pathway. Oh, well, it's somebody she knew. Blank stares down at the girl by his feet, a cold smile playing about his lips. Finally, he's bagged the prize. Now she will be. As Blank mumbles to himself, he picks up the unconscious girl and stalks off into the darkness, away from the bright lights of downtown. Yes, she will be all mine. After he's carried her into the adjoining storage room. Phew. She's relatively lightweight, but carrying around an unconscious person is rather strenuous work indeed. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but in the background you can see some art. Who do you remember was an artist? An artist with an atelier. Thinking emoji. But there's a payoff at the end for all his hard work. Finally, he's gotten what he's desired. And who do you remember was obsessed with Kazna and had a crush on her? I wonder. A grin of satisfaction spreads out over Blank's face. There's too many clues here. There's just way too many clues. I'm sorry, game. You've kind of given it away at this point. He takes a sip of black tea before getting up from his chair. The girl should have come to by now. She's the sacrifice he's worked so long and hard to obtain. She might put up a fight to begin with, but it's only a matter of time before she gives in. But right at that moment... How inconvenient somebody would come visit me at this hour, especially when I need to dispose of a body, or, well, probably more accurately to mutilate a body. An unexpected knocking at the door jerks Blank out of his reverie. Why now of all times? He doesn't have any guests scheduled to come by tonight, and his subordinates are prohibited from visiting the atelier. That's why he's decided to execute his master plan. But why? Why? As though in mockery of Blank's bewilderment. Another sharp knock echoes throughout the room. Blake casts a perfunctory glance around his atelier. There are a bunch of paintings and sculptures in progress scattered haphazardly around the place. There's no evidence lying around that points to his crimes. It shouldn't be a problem as long as they only see the atelier. Yes, no problem, so long as they don't take a look in the adjoining room. Once again, there's that incessant knocking sound. Blank clucks his tongue in exasperation and heads for the door. No matter who this person turns out to be, he'll just turn them away by calling their attention to how late it is. Okay, I'm coming. Blank opens the door to the atelier. Oh. It's Shugo. This time we're seeing Shugo from somebody else's perspective. That's kind of weird. Hello there. I apologize for calling so late at night. Ako Ikuma-sensei. The man bows, a sarcastic smile plastered across his face. Yep, this is Ako, or however the hell you pronounce his name, Ako. That guy we met at the guy we met in the cafe and at the play. It's kind of hard for anybody who's playing this game to really pin down that it's him based on, you know, he doesn't really get a lot of screen time. But then again, the what was it? Shinji from Karno Shoujo didn't get a lot of screen time either. Well, if it isn't Takashiro-san, what brings you here at this hour? Ako chooses his words carefully in order to mask the anxiety in his heart. He cannot afford to be careless here. This man has a very intimate relationship with the girl. Oh, am I interrupting something? When we first met, you said that I was welcome here anytime. Well, you're not exactly interrupting anything, but... Pressured by Takashiro's attitude, that's all he can say in the way of a reply. Well, that's fantastic. The truth is, I've always been interested in the places where artists do their work. The man impudently invites himself into the atelier. Wow, it's a lot cleaner than I expected it to be. Takashiro scans the room as though he's searching for something. Right. Akuo's suspicions begin to rise as he watches over the man with a growing sense of loathing. He's acting completely different than the time they met at the International Theater. His attitude is way too familiar and insolent. Has he possibly noticed something? Hey, Akuo-sensei, is something wrong? You're looking kind of pale, the man says with a laugh. Nah, it's nothing. Akuo feigns a smile, keeping his rising irritation in check. At any rate, his top priority is chasing this guy out of the atelier without anything happening. At the very least, he cannot be allowed to see what's in the storage room. I'm happy you came to visit me, Takashiro-san, but I'm kind of tied up with some work at the moment. He puts on a forced display of weariness and sits down in front of one of the canvases. However, as though Takashiro didn't even hear what he just said. Man, you really use some strange motifs, huh? The man keeps talking as he inspects the work scattered around the atelier up close. Quite fanciful, no? This painting of an angel in particular, I find it marvelous. Oh, why, thank you. Akuo can only give a vague reply. He can't figure out where Takashiro is trying to go with this innocent act of praise. But the thing is, Akuo-sensei, Takashiro suddenly turns around, his face completely serious. Perhaps it's just my imagination, but the motifs in these paintings look kind of familiar. He shoots Akuo a questioning look. Well, who knows? There are countless works of art in the world. There's always a possibility you might find something similar. Nah, I'm not talking about artsy stuff. Takashiro chuckles. Let's be frank with one another, Akuo-sensei. Most of the works you have in here are created in the likeness of things found in the scriptures of a certain religious group called Senri, correct? Well... Akuo nods, relieved. It's not that big of a deal. It's already an open secret in the art world that he's a Senri member. That just makes things even more suspicious, doesn't it? The man then puts on an exaggerated look of shock and says, Does that mean the rumors I heard about you being one of the executive members in Senri are true? Do you have a problem with that, Takashiro-san? My personal faith has nothing to do with others, right? It's kind of weird hearing Shugo, like, talking and actually, you know, having his lines voice acted as opposed to, like, whenever you play as Shugo, his lines aren't actually voice acted. Takashiro stands up and takes a close look at each one of the works of art. No, I wasn't trying to criticize you for your beliefs, Akuo-san. He continues on as he threads his way through the paintings. However, there's yet another rumor that's been weighing on my mind. Akuo's heart becomes very heavy with dread. You know, the rumors saying the person behind all those bizarre serial murders in Ueno was a member of Senri? How the hell does he know about Fukumizu? Akuo used her because he was able to cover up her ties to Senri. You're familiar with the woman in question, right, Akuo-san? No, I'm not exactly sure what happened. Akuo decides to play innocent. There's no way Takashiro has any sort of evidence. Akuo needs to be careful with his words, in the event that Takashiro is trying to make him slip up. You didn't know about Fukumizu even though you're one of the executives? That's correct. I don't have many chances to meet with the rank-and-file members. However, if you'll allow me to express my thoughts, apparently Fukumizu-san wasn't that devout of a follower. Oh? What makes you say that? Well, I know for a fact that there aren't any members of our church who would do something as terrible as committing murder. So you're telling me that Senri has absolutely nothing to do with those murders that took place in Ueno? Exactly. I see. The man flashes another carefree smile. He seems to have accepted what Akuo said, but his true intentions are still unknown. Takashiro-san, was your business here to insult me in my church with those baseless rumors? No, not at all. Takashiro shrugs, a wry smile on his face. I suppose it's due to my job, but once I've found something that bothers me, it's pretty much impossible for me to let it go. Is our business concluded? I know now that your suspicions were totally unfounded, Takashiro-san. Well, I can't really say that at the moment. Takashiro bends over nonchalantly and scoops up a small piece of something from the floor of the atelier. Takashiro-san, what exactly are you insinuating here? Akuo is no longer able to conceal his burgeoning frustration. Actually, there's something else that's been bothering me. He fiddles with the small scrap of cloth he just picked up and says, Akuo-sensei, in essence, it's about your artwork. Huh? The serial murders happened almost as though they were plucked right out of Senri's scriptures, a beast that consumes human flesh, an angel with dark wings, and a skewered maiden. All of these motifs are painted in the apocalyptic Book of Purgatory put out by Senri. Oh please, Takashiro-san, even you're caught up in the rubbish people have been spouting. Akuo continues on, maintaining his calm demeanor. The prophecies are made with the powers our leader possesses. There aren't any other reasons for making them. Besides, all suspicions should have been cleared up after the true culprit was arrested. But Akuo-sensei, that true culprit you're talking about had ties to Senri, you know? Takashiro says that as though shocked, shrugging his shoulders afterward. Don't you think the circumstances have changed? Furthermore, let's take a look at Otaha's dismembered corpse. That murder, and that murder only, clearly doesn't match up with the other crimes Fukamizu committed. It just doesn't fit. Takashiro appears to think for a moment, then continues. She did confess, but we can't be sure how credible her statement is, since she was deranged. Her statement was virtually unintelligible. Besides, the rest of Otaha's body parts weren't found below the chapel. Yeah, the way her body was left almost resembles a work of art, he mumbles. And then we have Ayasaki Takiko's murder. People are calling it the work of another serial killer, but the way her corpse was left follows a motif found in Senri's prophecies. Okay, so what are you trying to say here, Takashiro-san? You keep beating around the bush. I'm not exactly sure what your point is. To put it bluntly, I suspect that Senri is behind this string of murders. Akuo-sensei, you seriously don't know anything about this? He shoots a questioning glance at Akuo. The cool, calculated look Takashiro gives him makes Akuo slightly relieved. This shouldn't present much of a problem. Takashiro Shugo doesn't have any evidence. That's why he's trying to goad me, Akuo thinks. Well, if you're speaking the truth, that's quite disastrous. Okay, I got it. I don't think I can do much, but I hope you'll let me help you. What do you mean, help? I'll casually bring it up with some people in the church. I would hate to think a few misguided followers could bring down the entire faith. Ah, I see. Takashiro nods, a mysterious smile playing about his lips. Well then, Takashiro-san, thank you for the information. As I mentioned earlier, I have some important business I must attend to, so everything will be alright. From what Takashiro has been saying, it's apparent that he has absolutely no proof of anything. But at that moment, Takashiro sighs and mutters, well, at least I got something valuable tonight. And then he sticks a small scrap of something back into his coat pocket. Akuo's heart skips a beat. He'd caught a glimpse of the object. The scrap Takashiro had been hiding in his hand the entire time was a crow's feather. It's one of the black feathers he used to decorate that horse corpse. Supposedly, Akuo had cleaned everything up after his gruesome work was finished. But of all people to find something, it had to be this man? Well, I'm sorry for keeping you so late, Akuo-sensei. Takashiro bows and starts walking toward the entrance. Takashiro-san? Yes? What did you just have in your hand? Oh, you mean this? He faces Akuo and pulls out the black feather. How did you... Akuo was so flabbergasted the words won't even come out. His heart beats like a jackhammer inside his chest. Well, I just saw it lying around. I picked it up because it kind of made me curious. Takashiro chuckles merrily. Man, you know, I'm the type of guy that just can't leave things alone once they pique my interest. I'm gonna think long and hard about this feather after I get home. He sticks the black feather back into his pocket. Why, I might just stumble upon some new connection. There's no doubt left in Akuo's mind. Takashiro Shugo understands perfectly well what that feather means. There's a very low possibility that if he handed that feather over to the police forensics, they could determine that it's a match with the ones on that harlot. Takashiro-san, I'm sorry to ask this so abruptly, but... Akuo asks while using his fingers to search for something on top of the table. Oh, I'm guessing it's a knife? Did you tell anybody that you were coming over to visit tonight? Nah, it was just a spur of the moment kind of thing. I see. Well, that makes things convenient. Akuo's fingertips brush against a small sculpting knife. Yep. He quickly snatches it up and hides it behind his back. Well, I'd best be on my way, Akuo-sensei. Takashiro once again heads for the door, as easygoing as ever. Oh, Takashiro-san, you should definitely come over again to visit sometime. Hopefully next time we can talk about something else. Akuo draws closer to Takashiro, acting as though he's going to send him off. There's no turning back if he's going to do this. Ever since he killed all those people during the war, he hasn't felt anything resembling guilt. Let's see. How about we talk about art next time, Akuo closes the gap while making small talk. Sure, I'll look forward to that. Takashiro smiles and opens the door to the atelier. His back is now within reach. Akuo silently lifts up his right arm and prepares to strike. However, somebody grabs his wrist midway. He turns around to hear. Too bad for you, Akuo Akuma. I never forgive those who try to hurt my friends. Yeah, you're kind of stupid to think you wouldn't have backup or something. Of course, Toji was with him. I wouldn't think Toji would just let him do that alone. After hearing that icy cold voice, I turned around to see Toji in a standoff with Akuo. What? Oops, sorry for not introducing you sooner. She's my friend, Aoki Toji. The truth is, I had her sneak in from the back while I was distracting you. I shrug. Of course, I was just preparing for the worst possible outcome. I suppose you could call that another holdover from my line of work, huh? Akuo's features transformed completely. I guess he's realized I've completely pulled a fast one on him. You know, I actually prepared this feather on my own. I didn't find it inside your atelier. You were pretty much worrying over nothing. This little feather doesn't prove anything. I pull out the feather from my pocket and casually toss it aside. A low growl issues forth from between Akuo's lips as he bites them in frustration. I can see their respective limbs trembling as Toji holds back his right arm. And then... You tricked me? At that very moment, Akuo moves so quickly, so deftly that neither of us expects it. Oh shit. A line of blood drips down Toji's cheek after she jumps clear. What the... We've totally underestimated Akuo's strength. I thought Toji would be more than enough to subdue a weak little artist. Akuo steps back to create some distance from us, brandishing the small knife in his right hand all the while. He glares at us with an expression of abject rage. Give it up, Akuo Akuma. You seem to be confident in your abilities, but that probably won't work against the two of us. I carefully drop into a fighting stance and close the gap. However... A look of scorn appears on Akuo's face. What kind of idiot would fight under these circumstances? He starts running while he speaks. Akuo! I'm standing at the entrance to the atelier, and Toji's guarding the rear entrance. However, he doesn't head for either one of us. He runs straight for the third option, the window at the back of the atelier. And there's the loud crash of glass shattering. Akuo! I dash over to the window. To my dismay, the rear of the atelier is shrouded in dense greenery. Akuo has already disappeared into the darkness. God damn it. Give it up, Shugo. It's useless trying to chase after him when it's this dark. Toji addresses me calmly from behind as I place my hands on the window ledge, ready to vault outside. But... Besides, there's something more important at hand. I found something unbelievable when I searched the building. I had Toji search the atelier in case I wouldn't be able to provoke Akuo into doing something. Did you find some kind of evidence pointing to his crimes? Enthusiasm naturally creeps into my voice. We need something more substantial in terms of evidence in order to corner him. Nope. I found Kazuna. What? I'm completely dumbfounded. What the hell is Toji talking about? Kazuna's tied up and unconscious. What did you say? What do you say? Hey, Kazuna, wake up. I support Kazuna after releasing her from her bonds. Might as well try patting her on the cheek. After slapping her a few times, Kazuna finally opens her eyes. But why did Akuo have her locked up here, Toji? How would I know? Ask him yourself. Yeah, I guess you do have a point. I'll look down to find Kazuna with her eyes completely open, looking up at me, half dazed. Oh, Kazuna, you're awake. However, for some reason I cannot fathom, she closes her eyes once again, opens her mouth wide, and goes... What the fuck? She pushes me away with all her strength. No, you can't do that, Akuo-sensei. I'm grateful for your feelings, but I already have someone that I like. Kazuna expresses her refusal with her eyes tightly shut, her hands flailing about. Toji sighs, an exasperated look stealing over her features. No, you mustn't! You absolutely mustn't! Fed up, I walk over to her and bonk her on the noggin. Ow! Come on, Kazuna, open your eyes and look at me. Huh? Her voice a pathetic whine. Kazuna gingerly opens her eyes. What are you guys doing here? Oh, come on, you took the words right out of my mouth. Well, we have to have comedic shenanigans. And a short while later. Wow. After hearing our side of the story, Kazuna stands there with her head cocked in confusion. You know, I never even thought for a second that Akao-sensei would be involved in those murders. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Hell, I feel the same way. I would never have realized his place in things if Toji hadn't brought me Senri's member list. So why the heck are you here? Right, Actually, I had rehearsal today, and I was on my way home. Kazuna gesticulates around with her hands while telling her tale. She'd been walking along, alone in her thoughts. When she reached Ueno Park, she sensed a presence behind her. And then... somebody kept following me, and I got so scared and started running. But then I slipped on some snow and... I see. Man, that's ridiculous. It sounds fittingly Kazuna-esque, though. And as I thought, oh no, some perv's gonna rape me, I saw the guy's face, and it turned out to be Akao-sensei. So I was thinking, Akao-sensei's invited me over before, so maybe he's gonna do that again. But the moment that thought popped into my head, I got punched in the stomach. Ouch. Well, that was rather unfortunate, huh? Well, that's one way to put it. She could have been fucking killed. I know I should be enraged by Ako's heinous acts, but when I listen to Kazuna tell her story in such a happy-go-lucky way, I just can't manage to work myself into the proper mood. Yeah, and when I came to, I found myself here. Whoa, hold on just one second. So why the heck did Akao kidnap you, Kazuna? Kazuna's expression takes a sudden turn for the serious. Maybe he liked me so much that he didn't know what to do. How's that sound? That's probably not it. Oh, yeah. Kazuna slumps her shoulders glumly. I didn't really mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying that I don't think Akao would have acted with a goal like that. That doesn't really suit him, considering all the fanatical crimes he's committed in his managerial position in Senri. Or perhaps he's simply picked Kazuna to be his next sacrifice. Well, according to what he was saying earlier, that seems to be the case. That's enough, Shugo-san. You don't have to fuss so much over me. Huh? I'll look up to find Kazuna with her head hung low. I'm just a hyperactive plain girl with no feminine appeal. People tell me that my personality's kinda strange, too. Yeah, that sounds about right. Don't fucking agree with her, you asshole. You're such a meanie, Shugo-san. I was expecting you to deny it and call it a bunch of lies. Oh, come on, you're being totally unreasonable here. Well, Kazuna practically became a victim of this series of bizarre murders. She's probably a bit confused at the moment. I should probably console her a bit at this point. Being weird is fine, I say in a kindly tone. Don't worry about it so much. It's not like I hate that part of you. What? What did you just say, Shugo-san? Being weird is fine, right? No, not that. I can't help but be amazed at how quickly Kazuna's mood can change during times like this. Come on now, tell me how you really feel. I think it's about time we got going, right, Toji? I turn around to see Toji looking over with an inexplicably bored expression. You guys are finally done? Sorry for making you wait. I inadvertently eke out an apology, since Toji's giving me quite a scary look. What? Hey, we're not done here, Shugo-san. I'll put a sock in it. I give Kazuna another light tap on the forehead as she tugs on my sleeve in protest. Ow! To begin with, you got yourself in this mess because you're always spacing out. You know what I'm talking about, right? Well, come on, listen to what I'm saying. If you're gonna be that worried, then why didn't you just watch over me? What? I got myself into trouble because I'm so absent-minded, even though you told me not to get too involved with you or the cases, right? So isn't that basically the same thing? Kazuna. That's not what I was referring to. No, I've decided that I won't give up, no matter how dangerous things might become. I'm going to be together with you, Shugo-san, Kazuna declares, with her chest puffed out triumphantly. Whoa. You don't care about what I have to say about all this? Nope, not in the slightest. Jesus, well, she's persistent. When I see her face shining with determination, I feel like a total fool for worrying about such trivial things. I guess I was wrong all along. I shouldn't distance myself from Kazuna just because things are getting dangerous. Instead, I should put everything I've got into protecting her. If I can't even do that, I'm not qualified to have these feelings toward Kazuna. It's something so blatantly obvious, but I've only just now realized it. That's why I say with a wry grin, whatever, just do what you want. Okay, I will. Kazuna nods, her entire face beaming with joy. Sheesh. I turn around and look up to see. Oh, Toji's clearly pissed. What? Finally finished? Oh, don't mind me. Both of you should just keep right on talking. Toji-san, we're finished. Sorry to keep you waiting. Thus, Toji remains in a foul mood for quite a while afterward. I'm sure some more sex will cheer her up. After escorting Kazuna back to her home in Kanda, I make a promise to meet up with Toji tomorrow before we part ways. But the first thing I need to do tomorrow morning is go over to Arashima-san and talk to him about Akuo Akuma. They probably don't have enough evidence in the moment, but when you take into consideration who's on Senri's name list, and what happened tonight. Besides, if you add his violent acts against Kazuna, that should be enough to warrant an arrest. What happens after that is all in the hands of Arashima and the police. Toji and I will continue our search for Kozuki Yura. If we can get some evidence from Shigusa Tokiko and Akuo, perhaps that will shed some more light on the whole affair. And after a long day of work, I return to my room. One of Toji's subordinates is sitting in the lobby of the apartment with a bored look on his face. He's a tough-looking young street punk. Thanks, buddy. Sorry to keep you here so late. Hey there. Welcome home, Shugo-san. You don't happen to have any snacks for me, do you? I'm starving to death after being stuck here all day long. I'm not exactly well off enough to buy you food. Sorry, kid. Oh well, too bad. He may look mean on the outside, but the truth is, he's actually pretty amiable. He's here as a temporary guard. I'd prefer if he were a little more uptight, but anything happened while I was out and about? Nah, it's been peace and quiet the entire day. No suspicious-looking fellas came and snooped around or anything. I see. Well, that's a relief. It looks like the Senri cultists haven't located this apartment yet. That girl's still cooped up inside the room. She's been pretty quiet. I see. Thanks. Nice work today. You're free to go if you want. I thank the man and ascend the stairs to my room. I open the door, only to find the room completely enveloped in darkness. I guess Tokiko's still resting. As doubts start working their way through my mind, I take off my shoes. If she's sleeping, I'd feel bad turning on the lights. I enter the room, feeling my way through the darkness. Man, I'm exhausted. That's why I'm completely oblivious to whatever's sneaking up behind me. And suddenly, oh shit. Severe pain lances through the back of my skull. Unable to turn around, I collapse face down onto the tatami. As my field of vision gradually fades to black, I can see the dim outline of her slender body. I appreciate you saving my life. However, there's still something I have to do. I'm so sorry. She lifts up the flower pot in her hands. Wait! Hold it! Yet again, another violent shock runs through my skull. After spending a few moments staring at me groaning on the floor, she leaves the room without another word. This time, though, my consciousness decides to give in to the darkness. Jesus fuck. Well, we got fucked over pretty bad there. I'll just be on my way out, but first I must knock you unconscious. Thank you for taking care of me, but fuck you. I'm going to, knock you unconscious with the flower pot. A dull, throbbing pain reverberates within my skull. I sleep on, trapped in some kind of dark, hazy nightmare. And, hey, I wonder how much time has passed since Shigusa Tokiko left the room. Hey, Shugo, get up! Somebody's grabbed my back and is shaking me roughly. Huh? I'm finally starting to come to my senses. It looks like I've slept more than half the day away. The room's already dark. Is that you, Toji? As I support my still aching noggin, I turn around and sit up. What were you doing sleeping in a place like that? Toji looks down at me irritatedly, probably because I missed our appointed meeting time. Well, as I try to clear some of the fuzz out of my brain, I say, there's actually an interesting story behind all this. You let Shigusa Tokiko get away, right? What? At a loss for words, I look up into Toji's face. How did you know that? Toji nods angrily, then tosses the newspaper in her hand at me. It's today's evening edition. Things have gotten quite serious while you were having yourself a pleasant little nap. Curious, I glance over the articles. Mysterious conflagration at religious group's headquarters. Midnight, February 22nd. A notice went out that the main temple of Senri, a newly formed religious organization located in Oimachi, has gone up in flames. According to the firefighters who rushed to the scene, the fire did not spread to any of the other buildings, and they were able to put it out in its early stages. The origin of the blaze was deemed suspicious, and the Ueno police have since started an arson investigation. The bodies of a man and woman were discovered in the burned wreckage of the main temple. The Ueno police have identified the bodies as two members of the church leadership, Aoko Akuma, age 32, and Shigusa Tokiko, age 24. Well, so that situation kind of solved itself, didn't it? Like I said, I guess you could say Shugo's intervention kind of might have led Aoko to hide out at Senri's headquarters and get caught up in the fire. So I don't know. I wouldn't say that the situation completely solved itself. 2 corpses in the burned wreckage? Toji nods silently. Whoa, what the hell's going on here? It's so out of the blue that I can't even wrap my head around it. All I can do is keep voicing my questions. What happened to the other cultists? I'm pretty sure a lot of priests were living in that building. The leader had them temporarily moved to another facility. They explained that it was for some sort of special ceremony. Dazed, I keep staring at the article. There's still something I have to do. That's what Shigusa Tokiko had said to me last night. Is this tragedy what Shigusa Tokiko wanted? That's pretty much impossible to know now, since she's dead. Is this how it all abruptly ends? Is this really how the string of murders that have continued to plague us until this last month come to a conclusion? Yep. Shugo, unable to shake off my bewilderment, Toji continues. There's another problem. You'd better keep reading that article. The authorities have taken the present situation seriously and have started a comprehensive investigation into Senri. As a result, the bodies of 2 missing girls were discovered in a training facility built in the mountains behind the main temple. Furthermore, another female corpse was discovered buried in the same area. The corpse has been identified as a girl who went missing 5 years ago, Kozuki Yura, age 21. As there are a number of suspicious wounds on the body, the Ueno police are working quickly to determine whether this was a homicide. It's only been a single day since the fire at the main temple. The investigators are unable to hide their shock as more details come to light in this unprecedented atrocity. Oh, that body must be that, the body must be that, body that the girl was burying at the beginning of the game. I'm guessing that's what the body was that they found. I can't believe this. Kozuki Yura found, but as a corpse? I'm only able to choke out a few words of disbelief. By the time I got to the scene, the entire neighborhood was going nuts. There was a huge crowd of curious onlookers, police, and Senri members. It appears as though the leaders disappeared. The guys down at Ueno PD are trying their best to track her down, but Toji lets out a derisive chuckle. At any rate, it looks like our job's finished. Huh? I look up from the newspaper to see Toji looking down at me grouchily. Kozuki Yura has been found. All that's left for you to do is tell your client, and our job is done. But... I'm at a loss for words. I just don't feel any sense of closure in my heart from the odd way this whole fiasco came to an end. I understand how you feel, Shugo. All that hard work we put into the investigation has been in vain, right? She continues and says, Even so, what can we do? Are we going to look for Kozuki Yura's murderer now? You can do that on your own. I've got no time for that. I'm sorry, but I'm unable to help you anymore. Toji finishes with a bitter look on her face. I can tell from her face that Toji isn't satisfied either. Though I know now that this case is already out of our hands. Yeah, you're right. An indescribable feeling of helplessness steals over my body. Considering how large the scale of the whole thing's gotten, it'd be too much of a burden for a simple detective like me. I toss the newspaper aside, a wry smile on my face. Toji remains silent, that grouchy look still etched upon her features. Looks like this means the case is closed, huh? I flop back down on the tatami and close my eyes. Wow, that was completely unsatisfying and bullshit, how that all came to an end. But this is the normal ending, and like I said before, the normal ending is shit. It's really shitty in comparison to the actual true ending of the game, which is much better. Unfortunately, we just kind of have to go through this first, I guess. Then. Dazed, a single thought passes through my mind. Kazuna's going to be pretty upset when she hears this. Yep, nothing was really resolved. It was all just kind of, yep, that's it. That's it, motherfucker, that's it. That's everything. Well, not everything. That's most of the true ending. We haven't gotten to the actual ending of it yet. But yep, that's it. That's how the true ending is. It's yeah, when I first read this, I was like, really? That's really how this is gonna end right now? Like, this is the most unsatisfying. This is one of the most unsatisfying endings I think I've ever fucking seen. It made no sense. It's just everything kind of resolves itself, and it's terrible. Like, I mean, the true ending, like I said, it's pretty climactic. There's a lot that happens, and most everything pretty much gets resolved. Here it's like some things get resolved, but there's so many questions that just are left unanswered. So, I mean, and this is also the first ending you get. So, yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Answers none of our questions, and it just feels like a waste of time by the end of it. I mean, I guess it's worth playing through the first time. You're not going to get the best ending. It's not a bad ending. It's the quote unquote normal ending, and it's just a really unsatisfying ending. I guess you could say in a way it's kind of a bad ending, and it's about to get even worse. A couple weeks have passed because there is some after credits here. The whereabouts of Senri's leader have still yet to be revealed. Nobody except church leadership knew what the Holy Prophet actually looked like. The police have also failed to turn up any substantial leads. What's more, Senri may potentially disband, as they've lost the things unifying them, with the disappearance of their leader and the fire in their main temple. The series of bizarre murders were all plotted by Akuo Akuma. I ended up voicing all my thoughts to Arashima-san. Well, that's surprising. I suppose it's worth checking out, since it's something you came up with. We'll try investigating along those lines, but don't get your hopes up. Since Akuo is dead, I'm not sure what kind of results we'll get. The way people see it, Akuo and Tokiko's death were chalked up to internal conflict in Senri. A Senri follower plotted against Akuo, who had taken control of the church. Shigusa Tokiko had murdered Akuo, set the temple on fire, and taken her own life. That's what they had determined from the wounds on both corpses. And right after the investigation had started, the detectives who had gone to search Akuo's atelier made a startling discovery. In the storage room next to the atelier where Kazuna had been confined, the investigators found a thing among all of Akuo's stored pieces of art. Inside a large metal chest that had been sealed with a heavy lock, there was human fingers, toes, noses, brains, and skin. Ugh. Eeh. How does that not smell? Eeh. God. The finely chopped up parts had all body fat scraped off. They were all carefully preserved. Why? Like, why was he preserving them? Maybe he was using them to make really fucked up sculptures or something. I don't know. Why would he preserve brains then? Ew. Some of the investigators could not help but vomit. Yeah, I can't blame him. A part belonging to Otaha was discovered among the gruesome collection, something that had been missing ever since her body was found. Oh no. In the end, that became the conclusive piece of evidence. Akuo Akuma had used Senri in order to commit a string of murders to fulfill his own twisted desires. However, Shigusa Tokiko had noticed and put an end to Akuo's crime spree. Well, that's the conclusion Arashima-san and the police drew in their investigation. But of course, it's deeper and more complicated than that. The murders that stirred Tokyo into a frenzy have finally started to become a distant memory in people's minds. They don't have time to focus their attention on a case that's already been closed. Arashima-san keeps himself busy as ever after the investigation finishes, as he starts working on other cases. And the snow blanketing the streets has melted, and gentle rays of sunlight now herald the arrival of spring. Evening at Ueno Station. I walk alongside Kazuna as I see her off. She's going overseas to study. Shugo-san, I'll be fine from here. After we reach the plaza in front of the station, Kazuna turns around and looks at me with an apologetic expression. Yeah, this is just kind of sad. This whole thing is just kind of sad. You sure about that? I'm really sorry to drag you out here when you're busy. Nah, I'm really not. I'd do it for you anytime. I shrug, a wry smile spreading across my face. After the serial murder case was closed, after I informed Kazna of Yura's death, she got so depressed that it was literally painful for me to look at her. She didn't show up to visit me in my apartment, and she took a hiatus from the theater rehearsals as well. But after a while, she turned up again with a confident, cheerful look on her face. The thing is, though, I'm giving up on my sister. I always wanted to apologize to her, but she seemed somewhat glum when talking about Yura. After bouncing back from her brief bout of depression, Kazna devoted herself to rehearsals as though possessed. Yeah, probably to distract herself from the depression. She lost herself in the world of theater. She was so immersed, she practically forgot to eat and sleep. Seeing how passionate she had become, her director brought up the idea of going to study overseas. That's what makes things just so much more sad. Give it everything you've got, Kazna. Your dreams finally come true. Yeah, I'm really happy about that, but... Kazna seems a bit sad as she mutters. I won't be able to see you again for a long time, Shugo-san. Oh, well, what can you do? I really want to go with you, but you know that's not happening. She lowers her voice to a whisper. You know, Shugo-san, the truth is, I'm worried sick. Huh? You're gonna meet some wonderful person while I'm over there, and your loneliness is going to cause you to do this and that with her. And then you'll fall in love with her, and you'll completely forget about me. Oh, give me a break. I can't believe you have the time to be worrying over trivial stuff like that. It's not trivial at all. It's really important for my motivation. Yeah, I guess so. I sigh. She really is putting a ridiculous amount of emphasis on it. Send me a letter when you get there. I'll write you back. Just write me enough that I won't have time to forget about you, okay? Shugo-san, are you seriously going to write me back? Yep, I promise. Okay, well, that's a relief. After nodding emphatically, Kazna dashes off toward the station. And... I'm never gonna forget, okay? Not about you, the case, my sister, or anything else. Yeah, she's absolutely right. There's no way we could easily forget those terrible murders. That's why you... I got it. I won't forget. I'll be waiting for you. Relax, and have a safe trip. Okay, see you later. With the crimson sky as our tableau, Kazna vanishes into the crowd in front of Ueno Station. 2 weeks later, paying a visit to the Ueno post office has become part of my daily routine. Kazna sends me a letter about every 3 days. She's having it rough dealing with an unintelligible language and unfamiliar food. The family she's staying with treats her pretty well, though. She's entered the theater group she was referred to, but she's having trouble playing catch-up. Despite her hardships, she's giving it her all, making friends and coming to enjoy her new experience. Even though Kazna gets blue and complains every once in a while, she's still chasing her dreams. It's encouraging, but at the same time, it makes me feel a bit lonely. I'm not just being self-deprecating for no reason like I used to. It's just that when I see how Kazna is coping with the aftermath of the case and moving on with her life, I can't help getting fed up with how I can't seem to let go and move on myself. It's the end of another day. After I take my letter to Kazna over to the post office, I head downtown and take care of some business Toji asked me to deal with. It ends up being a simple background check and search. Toji's only been giving me easy jobs like that as of late. They don't require much brainpower or effort. Though I have to say they're perfectly fitting for a guy like me who's become unable to focus on work. I mull things over while I trudge home. Before I realize it, I've arrived in front of my apartment. Phew. I sigh and look around at the place that's become my humble abode. I think it's sometime around dusk. The sun's already set, but the sky still retains some vestiges of crimson. I can't see the glow of electric lamps shining through the windows of houses. All is quiet as the city teeters on the brink of nighttime. I drag my weary body up the dark stairway. As I look down at my feet, half dazed, I start to think about the past. That's why... I don't notice the voice at first. I must have drifted off while reminiscing. How uncharacteristic of me. Shugo-sama? I'm suddenly struck by a strong sense of deja vu. It's a voice I've heard countless times before, 7 long years ago. I look up to see who the voice belongs to. Oh shit, it's her. She's come back. I've waited a long time for you. I can see her smile through the darkness. Yura. Yeah, this was just really confusing. True route unlocked. Holy fuck. Jesus. I have many theories about what happened there, but I don't know. It seems really weird that that's how the normal ending ends. But yeah, that was the normal ending, guys. I hope you enjoyed that, even though it was incredibly depressing and sad and just really bullshit in a lot of different ways. But yeah, the true ending is better. I'll just say that. So I hope you guys enjoyed regardless, and I will see you next time for the true when we'll be going through the true route and getting the true ending.